Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey everyone, before we start today's episode, I just want to talk about a special offer that we have available for you as a Ruff Talk VR listener. Our friends at Resolution Games just sent us an exclusive 30% off discount code for Demio Battles. This new PvP spinoff of Demio just came out the other week and is so much fun. In order to take advantage of your savings, be sure to use code word RUFFTALK, that's one word, RUFFTALK hyphen 9A7AFF. Again, that's Ruff Talk hyphen 9A7AFF. Enter that code at checkout to save 30% off Demio Battles on the MetaQuest. This code expires on November 28th, and there's a limited number of uses available. So don't wait and take advantage of your savings today. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with Ben Outram, the developer of one of our favorite games that's still on App Lab, Squingle. And, you know, for long-time listeners, we've ranted about Squingle before. This is actually the second time we have Ben on as well.
One of the harder games to describe, really, to give it the appreciation it deserves. You really have to get in there and try it to understand. Because there's no way your brain's going to visually understand.
No, there's nothing else like it. It's like a psychedelic, connect or make it from part A to part B, but that's a very vague description, and you really got to see it to understand it. Even more, you got to play it to understand it. But one of the best puzzle games, in my opinion, in VR. But before we go crazy and fanboy out too much, Ben, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit more for the listeners, but also tell them a little bit better what Squingle is?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Ben Outram, and I'm sort of a one-man studio running Squingle Studios, whose, as from the name, whose only game so far is Squingle, but I hope it's the first of many. And my background is I kind of consider myself a physicist and engineer, sort of did a physics and engineering PhD and sort of went down the academic route, and then got into VR through a postdoc that I did in Tokyo at KO Media Design, which it's an interesting sort of department. They do a lot of stuff with media design and VR and robotics and those kind of things. And also they have an honorary professor there, Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who is obviously quite famous in the VR world as the sort of creator of Res Infinite and Tetris Effect, among other titles. And that was a massive influence. And then since then I've been working as the Squingle creator, programming Squingle, coming up with this kind of idea. So yes, shall I tell you a bit about Squingle? I guess it's I don't know how to describe it. It's like a psychedelic inspired VR, very much VR. It couldn't be done on anything else. Puzzle game in which you have to guide revolving orbs through a series of increasingly complex, iridescent mazes that look a bit like intestines, while being taken on a journey of cosmic transcendence by a morally dubious and ontologically ambiguous goddess character who appears to you during the game to not only tell you what to do a little bit, but also to sort of put little seeds into your reality to help you along your spiritual journey.
Yeah, I love the little story aspect in the game. It kind of keeps you going to it, but the puzzles are great as well. And at this point in Squingle, how many puzzle levels are there?
So there's 100 levels, obviously starting very easy and then progressing. And by the end, it's quite challenging. And, you can keep an eye on the leaderboards when you open the game and see like people's progression. I think there's been about 3 people other than me in the world who have completed the game, at 100%, getting absolutely everything, passing all the levels, collecting all the items, perfecting all the levels and doing it all as well at double speed mode. So, those are the biggest fans, I guess. It probably takes about 15 hours or so to get that far or more, I would say. But some dedicated squinglers.
So leaderboards, double speed mode. I feel like that those features weren't there at launch. Is that correct? Was that post-launch additions?
So there's been quite a lot of stuff that's progressed over the times of Squingle's life. And obviously the most recent one we'll talk about is the mixed reality update, which was kind of coincided a bit with the Quest 3 launch. But since the game was originally appeared in July 2021, actually, so it's been a couple of years. Since then, there's been various different things added, difficulty modes and hand tracking support, mixed reality support, and, various different features. Yeah. And I'm still working on new ones as well now. So some exciting stuff coming up as well.
Well, and it should be noted, it's got a phenomenal rating.
At one point, I think it was the highest rated app.
Still
on
holding
the
a
store.
5.
Still a 5.0? That's crazy.
Yeah. Even though it looks like there might be like a couple of 4%, but
it doesn't
4 stars, but it's not affecting the overall. So
5.0 and the game's been out for 2 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
why is it still on App Web?
yeah, we're Quest players, so that's what we play on. That's what we enjoy. But at this point, what other platforms is Squingle on? We have some people in our Discord on various headsets, so in case they're interested.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it still holds the title of being the highest rated. It might be. I haven't checked recently, but we're slowly getting more reviews as well. That's a key thing at the moment. Talking to Meta, because I've been talking to them quite a lot recently, and I'm hopeful that we're making some progress towards potentially an official release on their store. But I think one of the key things is that they like to see, a lot of people having left reviews and things for the game. So, if anyone's out there, feeling charitable, wants to help Squingle and this one-man studio break it, then please do leave a review. But yeah, it's currently obviously it's on the Meta Quest and Quest 3 and Quest 2 on App Lab. It's also on the Pico 4. It's on the HTC 5 Elite XR, and it's on like some other ones that, probably people haven't heard of because they're based in China or other places. So, but yeah, we're hitting the main platforms. The PlayStation VR 2 is one that I've got my eye on potentially for next year, but I'm not currently working on the port for that because I'm currently working on other things related to Squingle. So, but yeah, it's kind of multi-platform at this point.
$11 as well. It's not like the game's an arm and a leg. $11 for 100 levels.
So you are in the Chinese market then, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Pico's primarily a Chinese market, I guess. There's also like the Qi, which is like another brand. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. It's in China, although I think they're closing up shop in relation to their VR activities. So I'm not sure what the future of Pico is as well. I've been kind of following the news, but not sure. But yeah, I understand Meta might be going into the Chinese market as well. Is that been in the news recently?
That's the rumor I hear.
Yeah, they're partnering with the manufacturer to make a cheaper Quest that I think isn't going to have pancake lenses. It's going to have different style lenses, if I'm remembering correct. But yeah, it just came out like last week, and then Pico's definitely been hot and cold, where there was rumors of them closing their VR division, and then people said no, that's just rumors. I think they're
going to hold on for a while.
But then there was mass layoffs, and now, but it's not gone. It was just big layoffs. But what's the actual numbers? Who knows? It's kind of all mixed reports back and forth. But hopefully they stick around.
How's the reception been to it in the Chinese market?
Yeah, I mean, it's been all right. I haven't done any marketing out there or anything, so yeah, certainly not as good as the Quest, but I guess it's more maybe represents how many devices have been sold, right, as well. So it's difficult to get an awareness. But earlier this year, I did partner with another game studio in Japan, My Dearest, they produce a couple of games which tend to be more targeted towards the Japanese audience, like Dyschronia, and some other sort of adventure games. Although they are coming out with a new one that they've announced, which is like a brawler, like a bit like
Brazen Blaze.
It looks really exciting. Yeah. So they're actually the official publishers of Squingle in Japan. So the Japanese market, I think, is really good for this. I think they're a little bit more receptive to sort of non-mainstream ideas, which I think is obviously really important in VR, just because it's very much different. VR and XR are very different platform, different media technology to most. It's like traditional, games media. So I think we need more, innovation away from just like traditional sort of game mechanics and game genres in VR. But Japan and in particular are very, very good at taking on and adopting crazy new ideas and interesting interactions and things like that, which is partly why, the inspiration of Squingle in the first place in Japan. So it's kind of come full circle that now there's, a publisher there that's really taken it on and promoted it in Japan. So yeah, it's done quite well there.
Yeah, My Dearest is a great studio. We actually just had Alberto, one of their marketing people, on the other week. So that was a great interview.
Nice.
My Dearest is a great company. They're badass. Brazen Blaze looks
good
great
because it's going to help get it into the market. That's why I was like asking specifically about the Chinese market, because I know that's an area that not every studio goes into. So I was just curious about the reception to the game, because it doesn't seem like anything would have to be taken from it to put it there, or it's just a matter of getting it there. So no, that's a good move.
Yeah, no, the Squingle's a great game. The 5.0 is it's there for a reason, but because
there's no. I mean, I would challenge anybody to say they've played anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the closest in my whole life was maybe something I had as a kid that involved foam things and a magnet. It was a board in the 70s, but nothing to the effect of.
And I love that you mentioned Tetris Effect. I can actually see some influence in Squingle's, how should I say, aesthetic and environment. Tetris Effect is a very psychedelic game, and that carries very much over to Squingle.
I think Squingle is more psychedelic than, even though I get the overall ambiance of Tetris Effect, but just looking at it for what it is, the first time I played Squingle, I was like, this is reminiscent of maybe a younger time in my life.
Yeah, and it's something we talked about on our first interview, but just for a refresher, do you want to talk a little bit more about like your educational background in Japan?
Yeah, sure. I guess there's a lot of influences that are in Squingle. You're right. It's a very psychedelic game, both visually, but also in terms of its sort of concepts and physics and evolution and life and transcendence, and sort of mixes in with Eastern philosophies a little bit and a bit more with Western physics and those kinds of things. At the beginning of the game, Squingle, you're confronted with this goddess who sort of invites you to invent the universe with her. And there's like, the first set of levels are called Form, which is sort of like the formation of the universe. And all the backgrounds to the game, if you're in VR, you don't see the backgrounds if you're in mixed reality, obviously. But they use the cosmic microwave background radiation data from NASA, and they're used in combination with the color spectrum you get through microscopes from liquid crystals, which are this sort of interesting phase of matter, which are very important in the existence of life. So there's been a lot of influence from that, because when I was, after doing physics at university, I went and did a PhD in Oxford related to liquid crystal display technology, which is obviously the same technology that's used in like VR headsets as well, if they're not OLED. But those materials, liquid crystals, are extremely beautiful under a microscope, and they create all of this very psychedelic visual imagery. You can see a lot of images and videos I've taken on my website, and that's led to a lot of interesting collaborations in and of itself. But it was also the basis on which, I'm not really an artist, I guess. I'm not really like someone who does a lot of 3D design or anything. So Squingle sort of its art style comes directly from the beauty that I've seen in liquid crystals down the microscope, a lot of the textures in the environments and the colors and the color schemes, and even the sort of the way the shaders are designed to do this iridescent effect, which you don't really often see in VR games. But that iridescent effect is directly from, liquid crystals as well. Like if you think about those beautiful beetles and butterflies you get that are really iridescent. And, as a kid, I remember looking at those things and just thinking they were sort of pure magic, and, a lot of those actually use liquid crystals to create that iridescent effect in their sort of skin or whatever, in their wings. And that's the same effect that's used in the shaders in Squingle. So you get this beautiful iridescent, everything in Squingle is kind of iridescent. So yeah. And then I went to Japan after the PhD, and at this media design, after studying Japanese for a while, I joined this media design group, and they come up with super wacky ideas. Sometimes I'm like, that idea just wouldn't fly in the West. If you propose that to a professor, they'd laugh you out the room or something. It's just, that doesn't sound serious, but they take it very seriously. And, no crazy idea is too crazy. And you see some of those ideas when you play like Japanese games and things. Like, no one would have come up with Mario in the West, in the Magic Mushroom Kingdom, and all of the crazy power-ups and stupid things that are there. And that's had a huge influence on the West and games that have come since as well. So, yeah, speaking of which, I don't know if you guys have played Mario Wonder. Have you? On the Switch?
No, but I've heard good things. I've been eyeing a Switch for so long.
Yeah, like that is the quintessential psychedelic game, I would say. It's like, you're in the Mushroom Kingdom. You're eating these mushrooms all the time, getting magical power-ups. And like the whole game just has had this psychedelic facelift from earlier versions of the series, which already were pretty psychedelic if you ask me. I kind of wonder if Nintendo had an influence from that direction, because I think magic mushrooms were only made illegal in Japan in like 2003 or something. So, like before that, I'm not sure what the culture was like, but I don't know. That's my suspicion. Maybe it sounds like a conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean, there's too many coincidences for it to just be a coincidence in that regard.
No, and I remember the first time seeing like the colored mushroom.
Come on,
they even look like remind me of Amanita.
Yeah, they even look like it.
Yeah,
the mushrooms in Mario. It's not like they're blue. Like, no, those are magic mushrooms.
The Smurf zone.
The magic ones.
Yes, the magic mushrooms. Make you big, make you small.
Too funny. And so Squingle came out in 2001. I'm sorry, 2021. So what year did you begin to work on it?
I think there was about a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I initially started those prototypes. So like, from that time in Japan, I was given a lot of creative freedom to do pretty much whatever I wanted. Like my boss didn't seem that interested, or not that he wasn't interested. He gave me a lot of freedom to play around with VR and try out new ideas. And so I was doing things like music visualizers in VR and, juggling prototypes, juggling simulators. I was like I love juggling, especially 3-ball juggling and circus skills, flow toys. And, they really put you in a state of flow, a little bit like video games do, which is, what I really love about video games. And actually Elon Musk recently mentioned that he likes playing video games because of the state of flow that it creates in you. And those flow toys, as they're called, or circus skills, I really wanted to recreate that experience in VR, but in a way that, you can gamify, you can create more like a goal-oriented, you can encourage people along a progression, give them short-term goals, control the learning curve, because you can control things like gravity, or, how easy it is to catch balls, or that limit how far away they can be thrown so that people aren't throwing them forwards. Like when you start learning to juggle off and you start walking forwards and things, you can try and, rein in some of that stuff. And so I ended up creating quite a lot of juggling prototypes. In the end, juggling, there's not really a huge market for juggling. And also it's quite hard anyway. So even when you try and use VR and to help put it on rails so you can learn it easier, it's still really, really tricky. So, Squingle kind of came out of some of those prototypes, I guess, of trying to understand how to really reduce juggling down to its core essence and then recreating that in a new concept in VR. Because what's fundamental about juggling is there's the topology, there's play, there's skill, there's a spatial dimension to it, there's a temporal time element to it. It's like playing with topology and playing with physics. And so Squingle really tries to distill that down so that the learning curve can be controlled much easier. But it uses those same concepts, right? So you've got these 2 balls instead of 3, and they're always rotating around each other. So you don't have to throw them to make them rotate around each other in this kind of cycle. And then the way they move through the puzzles, rather than that topology of like knots of juggling, like braids of things that you're doing in front of you that you control, those are represented through the spatial structure of the levels, of the 100 levels in Squingle. So that you as you play them, you're tracing out this topology of ultimately what I did, the motions that I did while I was creating the levels. And so you're playing with topology, this temporal, topological structure and spatial structure of the levels. And that is very similar to actually the juggling experience. And the better you get at Squingle, the faster you can do it and the more like juggling it really does truly feel, actually, I think.
And if I'm not crazy, if I remember correctly from last time, you're quite the master juggler yourself, correct?
Well, I'm still not come across anyone that can juggle 3 balls as well as I can. Put it that way. Not to be humble or anything.
And do you have video that people can find of you juggling?
Oh, I thought there was.
Yep.
Yes,
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
asking knowing the answer. I'm
It's a
asking knowing the
loaded
answer.
question. And how do we see these videos?
There's a few on my YouTube channel, I think.
And how?
Of
What's
me
your YouTube
juggling
channel?
at
Is
festivals.
it just
Bio998? Yeah, I think you can find me at Bio998.
maybe I'll throw
BIO998.
a link to one of the videos in the
I think you
episode
did last
description?
time.
It's a bit
I
embarrassing.
know we watched
a lot
them.
of pretty old school. At
Juggling's
university, we
not
were like
easy.
recording with those rubbish like camera phones and things, and then like, but there's some
Old school
interesting stuff on
YouTube. Old school YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And just to go back to the leaderboards, how exactly does that work? Is it based upon your time to complete it? You mentioned finding everything. So how do the leaderboards work in this game?
So, at the moment, I think that the leaderboards could be improved and how they're presented and what they're showing. But there's a number of leaderboards, but the primary one that shows up when you open the game and is very public. There's actually 2 leaderboards that it shows. One is the level of completion that you have, and then the other is the best time for your entire game. So, like once you complete all 100 levels, then you get a coveted space on the time leaderboard. So, and then the main leaderboard is just by progression in the game. So you can actually, the top it sounds counterintuitive, and I hope mathematicians on your channel won't hate me for this, but the top you can get is 200%, which is, obviously like you guys are always saying 110%, right? Or 100% actually. You're
100%. Yeah, we're 100% people.
You're like 100%. Yeah, it's good. So yeah, but basically like if you complete a level, you get it ratchets up your completion. If you collect all the green things, that contributes to your completion, and also getting those hard to get 3 stars on every level, which you get by not hitting the edge. You go through the level and not hit the edge. Then you basically if you complete all the levels at two times speed, not hitting the edge and getting all the green things, then you get your 200%. And I think there's one person on the leaderboard at the moment that's got that. A guy
Is
called
that one
Dave,
person
maybe?
you?
Not sure. No. No, I have done it in the past, but to check the game, to check everything can be attained. But yeah, so not recently.
What a great simple way to add replayability, because I'm a sucker for leaderboards.
Well, yeah, man. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie. 2 times speed, don't touch everything, 3-star and everything, and get everything. I can't see myself physically doing it.
No, that's a lot.
It's hard.
That's a lot.
It's hard to do that. Yeah.
Well, 100 levels is intense, even with no leaderboards and stuff like that. And, you know, it starts easy, it gets harder. So it's like even just the game is going to be hard by the end, let alone with the extra little modifiers. But for people that love the puzzles, it's great replayability.
Well, and I get it too. If you can get into that flow, and I mean, you've done it enough, you're feeling it, you know, without even doing it yet, you're already visually seeing it. Then I can see how some people, but that's just proof there's just levels to shit, you know?
Oh yeah, and that's good to know. That means in order for somebody to do that, Squingle has to be a game that they're freaking loving. So the fact that you see people hitting those leaderboards means that they love the game. They're putting in hours into it, and they're hitting it after they already beat it. So that's huge. But, you know, you referenced a mixed reality mode, and that just recently came out. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the mixed reality mode in Squingle?
Yeah, for sure. So this is something I started on at the beginning of the year, kind of anticipating the Quest 3 was going to be, there's, you know, a strong focus from Meta on mixed reality games at the moment. And yeah, I think at the start I thought, you know, mixed reality, it's a little bit of a gimmick maybe, you know, is it really going to be interesting? Is it going to like be impressive? Is it going to create that wow factor again? Is it going to, you know, drive people to the game and to the concept of Squingle? And, but, you know, nonetheless, I'd already put the pass-through mode in. So, you know, and I think when I first played the pass-through mode on Cubism, which is, you know, another one of my favorite games in VR, that was the penny drop for me when I was just like, this isn't a gimmick. It's actually really cool. It's like that first time I put on the VR headset and looked at like a VR plant, and I was like, wow. And then, you know, doing that cubism, solving puzzles in your actual physical space, even though it was grainy black and white back then with the Quest 2, it was, you know, it was a bit of a penny drop moment. And I thought I got that wow factor again. So that's sort of what led me to do the pass through. And then with the new mixed reality update, this takes it to a different level, because now the game knows where your walls and furniture are. So that allows you to do 2 things. One is to set up your environment so that you can have like a mixture of VR and the real world. So for example, you might enjoy the VR worlds in Squingle and the sort of the artistic, you know, part and be immersed in the VR environment. But you kind of want to see if you're going to step on your cat, or if someone's going to walk in the room, or maybe there's the sofa down there and you want your friends over and you want to be able to talk to them normally, like you're in the same room. And so you want to just show that part as the real world. So you can set up your environment to pick and choose how you like. And I've seen that done in like a couple of other experiences, which is where I got the idea for it. And then the second thing, which is even cooler, is that you can, everything, when you achieve things in the game, or if you hit an edge, or you complete a level, or if you're talking to the goddess character, you get these kind of psychedelic patterns that have been created with using Midjourney, actually. So, you know, using AI, because I wouldn't have been able to like pay for as an artist to do all of that. Like there's sort of hundreds of these patterns in the game that will spread, and they're sort of themed with the stages as well. So you get some progression through the game. So it sort of changes each time, but you get these kind of crazy, like sort of fractal patterns spreading across your walls and furniture every time you collect something. And this effect, it's kind of radio out from your eyes. It's almost like caresses your mind in a sort of a bit like, I imagine, you know, certain types of altered states might be like, or like in deep meditation, you get these, sometimes you get sort of visualizations or mandala kind of patterns and effects in your peripheries. And it really sort of, it marries your environment to the action of what you're doing in the game. in a way that you can't do without that knowledge of your walls and furniture in the game. So that's the thing. And it's been received really well so far. Like, players have really been praising this as a standout feature, according to a lot of the user reviews we've been getting. And, I didn't know how people would react to it, but, people really like it. So I'm very happy about that.
I think, again, it's just a matter of people trying it, even without the mixed reality, which
sounds exceptional.
Yeah, well, mind you, I think Ben has done a great job of encapsulating the psychedelic experience.
Yes, it's very similar to what friends would have told me.
Heavy
I've read
breathing.
online,
Yeah, a friend of a friend might have told me once. So no, because that's an experience. The visual experience is something that, I mean, in my lifetime, I've seen people try to replicate, or, the best I think I've seen before VR was artist renditions, like people drawing like, oh, this is, but it doesn't do it justice.
Not like
it doesn't
VR.
have that movement. It doesn't. Only thing that's missing is the alleged sounds in the ear. Like,
well, in a game like this, because there's puzzle based too, not only are you just sitting there watching, you could enter a flow state of like puzzle movement and completing puzzles. So, and I love that so, a lot of times mixed reality modes, it's just, hey, now you're playing the game
in your
room. And it's bare minimum like that.
But pass-through mode, is it not?
Yeah, you really took the aesthetics of Squingle and apply them into your real world environment, which that's next level. And I love the reference to Cubism. That's also one of my favorite puzzle games. Great developer in Thomas Van Bowel. And he's always on the cutting edge with hand tracking and pass-through.
It's another one-man studio too, correct?
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question. So Squingle, I believe last time we talked for Squingle, you were a one-man studio. Is that still the case?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's essentially me, but I hire people along the way, occasionally to do bits and pieces. I've got someone working on social media marketing at the moment, and someone who's been helping with some bits and pieces of coding recently. But yeah, I mean, mainly it's just me. I think people don't realize that, because I've put, I like to be grateful and thankful to everyone that's involved. So I don't know if you look at the credits of Squingle, it seems like a really long list. And I kind of want to give that impression that it's a big, because people don't take solo devs seriously, do they? So just give the illusion that it's this big full-time team. And I don't know if that counts as like Trump style fraud. But
it's a one-man studio, though, in the end.
It's a one-man studio. To be honest, I heard Tom use that term recently on the podcast he gave recently, and I thought I'd steal it because I never really know how to explain that to people. But I think one-man studio, is kind of encapsulates it really. Yeah,
I can't.
But it's a lot of it's a lot of work. You've got to do business development, marketing, trying to figure out what the hell's going on,
accounting,
accounting. Yeah, exactly.
Professional networking. There's a lot.
Going to events. I went to Gamescom recently. I'm never going to do that again.
Did it suck the life out of you? Was there a lot of like after parties and that kind of stuff? What was the?
No, I mean, the after parties and the B2B networking was really, second to none and really great. And I think it probably made it worthwhile. But it was, there were a few logistical challenges along the way, which I won't bore you with. But and it's just very expensive going to a lot of these events and things in general.
So we will not be seeing Ben at PAX East
this
year.
No. And
scratch that off the question list.
And are you in London primarily, or where you located?
I'm based in Oxford, but I'm in London at the moment, and then obviously travel for different things, different events. I was in Berlin last week or the week before. Games Ground was like an event, and I was there with the Cyberdelic Society, which I'm very good friends with. They have you heard of the Cyberdelic Society?
No, not off the top of my head.
So it's essentially like a group of of people who are just interested in creating VR experiences and games that engage in some capacity with kind of the psychedelic experience. But it's not about psychedelics. It's about recreating the benefits, psychotherapy benefits, or like spiritual benefits, or just sort of, I don't know, relaxation benefits, or just artistic and visual benefits that psychedelics can bring, but using media technology. So like virtual reality and stuff. So Squingle definitely sits in that kind of category. But as do lots of other experiences like ayahuasca and other ones. So I was in Berlin recently doing that. And yeah, I also want to mention this other one. I was invited to give a talk I gave a talk about, I think the title of the talk was The Intersection of Psychedelics and Virtual Reality, Past, Present, and Future, at this big expo in Coventry, called, I think it was called like, can't remember now. But yes, that was pretty insane. Like this event, it was like the biggest weed expo in the UK. And like, I didn't know what it was until I got there, because I just was invited to give a talk and sit on a panel and discuss stuff. And at like a small part of this event, but then I got a free ticket to walk around, and the whole place was just like expo center, and weed is not legal in the UK, but it was like just hot boxed expo center. I probably shouldn't talk about it in public, because I don't know, they might get closed down next year. I don't know, but it was just insane. But you do end up, like, when you start doing VR things which are associated with that kind of community, you end up in these very bizarre communities sometimes, where you're around, people that are really high and stuff. It's always quite interesting.
Well, Squingle might thrive.
Good ideas can come from that environment, though, so it shouldn't be. And not for nothing, if they'd like to invite the Ruff Talk team to go out there and cover the footage of that expo next year, I'll take one on the chin.
And it's not actual smoke; it's just a fog machine. That's all they're doing.
Who
It's
cares?
blowing.
I
Yeah,
mean,
CBD products.
Yeah,
wink, wink.
that's funny. That's funny. And you mentioned that My Dearest helped you publish in Japan, but for the rest of the markets, are you completely self-published as well?
Yeah, at the moment, I've been talking to like a few different publishers. Most of them haven't been interested so far in publishing Squingle. So that's fine.
This is when I wish we were in the publishing.
I know. I mean, Squingle's...
There you go. You want to publish Squingle?
You might do better at it than we might, but, that's a different conversation.
Well, here's the thing. And this is the reality with, and I won't even say one-person studios, because we've seen it with like 5 to 6, is the amount of food that's on the plate that needs to be consumed to keep things moving forward. It's a lot to take on the chin for one person to honestly have to do. It's like, it's a humongous, and then you have the whole social media aspect. You get Discord channels, TikTok, YouTube, you got to like hit every single, so I don't know how for the life of me, people have a time schedule to accomplish it. And that's not counting like hiccups or, this headset, they did an update. Now my game needs fixing. So I always commend, but I get how, but I don't know why anybody wouldn't.
Oh my God. It blows my mind for puzzle games. Squingle is like,
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, because
perfect.
it's original. It's not like you can go, oh, it's just like this game. It's like, no, it is this game. And the next time you hear it referenced will be someone making a game and going, it's just kind of like Squingle, but I did my own thing. Because it really, dude, there's nothing.
You utilize all the features of the Quest. You have the mixed reality features, the hand tracking, you have replayability in your puzzles, 100 levels. It's $11 freaking 5.0.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like,
yeah, we've been recently vocal that for like our original class of App Lab games that we petitioned, this is like the last remaining.
This is the
survivor.
last one holding out.
This and Color Connect, another great puzzle game as well, but it just doesn't make sense to me that Squingle is not on the store yet. But I love that you haven't given up. Boom, update leaderboards, double speed mode, mixed reality mode. It doesn't stop with Ben over here. So
no,
you mentioned at the start, right before we started recording, you were up late, you're working. Is there more stuff that you have planned for Squingle?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited at the moment about what I'm working on right now, because since Squingle was first launched, I've learned a lot, and my style's changed a bit, and there's Mid-Journey and all these new tools to help learning things. So at the moment, I'm working on a multiplayer, and multiplayer Squingle is like, I've only about 3 people have tried, done some early testing with me online with it so far, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun being in there with someone. I mean, it's great fun being in any VR situation when you're online with someone, but having this puzzle to play with, seeing each other, competing, racing, it brings a whole new dimension to the experience. So I'm super excited to technically it's not announced yet, but that's fine. I'm not very good at timing my announcements very well, but yeah, and I'd love to get your ideas, and maybe we can even play test it a bit. I guess your opinion, you've played so many multiplayer VR games, I reckon you'd have really good insights into that. So yeah. And then last night, after I was playing with I've done some prototype levels and stuff, and then I was like, right, they need to look cool. They need to look different. And so I've been really playing with the shader and the art style and the backgrounds. And now with Mid-Journey, so you can really create new patterns and much more complex things, and playing with everything I've learned about lighting and dynamism, dynamic sort of feeling, and everything that looks good in mixed reality as well already. So I've been learning a lot and refining the art style, and I think the result is starting to look really good, but it's definitely still in, I want to call it alpha phase. So it's still a few bugs and things. And I need to do a lot of more, player testing to really understand, what's the funnest thing you can imagine, how to really curate the levels and design in such a way that it's really fun, and there's mechanics where you can mess each other up or interact with each other. It's not just a solo thing that you're doing in isolation, more like a battle game. So yeah, I mean, I'm really open to your suggestions.
So
at the moment, it's got 2 modes at the moment. There's a race mode and a battle mode. But if you guys have got ideas, I'd be really keen to hear them. Or your listeners as well.
I need to
join our Discord channel.
Yeah, I want to play it.
I need to try what you have in the works first, and then I'll be able to give much more feedback, because the ability to play in the sense of, first one to compete, that's awesome. But battle mode, that sounds like such a new gameplay element to Squingle. I mean, that's
how to make Squingle more challenging. Yeah, that's a good way to
mess with the other person playing. That sounds freaking so much fun. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything that you might be on the right track with it, So I need to experience it, and then I can say, maybe change this, or hey, no, freaking full steam ahead with what you have planned. But for anybody in the comments, anybody listening or anything like that, be sure to post, what you would like to see in a Squingle multiplayer. Dude, battle mode sounds really, really freaking fun.
It's funny, you go to battle modes, and I'm thinking of I'm liking the
race.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see,
because
that's the benefit.
If it's compensating for you touch the wall,
Oh,
this could be. It'd be neat to see just how fast.
Mm-hmm. And would your plan be 2-person rooms, or up to 4? My brain instantly went to 2-person.
Yeah, so it's compatible to 4 players, right? So imagine yourself there's the race mode is kind of the single player campaign, same levels, but now you're racing. So there's a countdown timer, a bit like in Mario Kart, and then you start and you have to race through the levels, and it's not the first person to get to the goal that wins necessarily, because you get points for getting the green things, and you get points for coming first. So, if you race through, the second player can change their strategy and collect the green things instead and still win, for example. But then they get timed out as well. If the first player gets the goal, then you've only got a limited time to actually complete before you get timed out. So I've started to think a little bit about the mechanic and how to balance that really well to make that really compelling. So, I've always wanted to make a racing game in VR, and I thought it would be a separate project, even like a different kind of project, like Wipeout or something. But, first of all, that would be hugely ambitious I couldn't afford to build a team to make that. And second of all, Squingle already has a lot of features that allow it to be like a good racing game anyway. So, Squingle it is. And I think it does make a really good multiplayer racing game. And yeah.
Real time, like on the fly strategy making, like with that type of elements to it.
Dude, you choose to go for the goal and you leave that window of time for your opponent. I get it. So I'm liking the strategy involved. I never thought I'd look at Squingle that way.
And if
I've always taken it as just a
solo,
and honestly, I don't even know if we even complained about wanting this would be a little better if it had multiplayer,
dude.
We do that a lot.
Squingle could get my heart rate going now with like adrenaline of like,
and especially in you're talking on party chat or in game mics.
And would we each have our own map? Or example, if I grab the green thing, does that prevent him from grabbing the orb, or could he do it on his view too?
No, that's right. Yeah. So, because it's like a race, right? So if you get there before the other guy, then they can't collect the green things, right? So, it's a real race. Yeah. And I mean, it's the same with the, like the battle mode. So in the battle mode, you're given these special arenas. So not the single player levels, but like the arenas that are designed to be battled in kind of thing. And you have to try and collect the green things. And then to get them to add to your score, you need to bank them. So you need to bank them with getting to a checkpoint. And then like you can't go back to a checkpoint that you've already been to before, and it changes color and to your color. So like if you change all of them to your color, you can't actually go to any of the checkpoints. So it's kind of like a limitation there. I don't know. Like, there's a few. I'm still trying to figure out all the mechanics of it, but there needs to be a way to like mess
fun.
each other up and that kind of thing, and which I haven't got in there at the moment. So I think it's going to come out of conversations that I have with testers. Really,
Squingle meets Mario Kart. It's like you throw the shells at people. It's going to be like that. You got to mess with your partner on their puzzle side too. Man, what I'll give you a lot of credit for is you look at the mixed reality. You don't just do the most basic integration possible. You go, how do I Squingle this mixed reality? With the amount of levels, you don't go, all right, 20 levels and I'm good. No, 100 levels. And now with multiplayer, you could have easily just been like, okay, we kind of just play like in the same environment together, each with our own map, and boom, now we have multiplayer. But no, you are completely revamping the gameplay and oh my goodness, I give huge props because that's going to be huge.
I don't find Ben's background to be the norm itself.
No.
And, I do have a question, and it's a little off base, but I'm really curious because this is twice we've heard about his background, and both times I'm like, geez Louise, if you weren't a game developer, what would you actually be doing?
Well, I do have a day job as well, which is what I would be doing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Squingle is, it pays for itself, and the time I put into it, but, I don't think it would if I was doing it full time. Right. So I'm kind of part-time working as in computer vision and technology. So yeah, kind of gone down the technology track, like physics, engineering, media technology, XR, and then using into AI, computer vision. So, and I quite like the job, to be honest. Like ideally, I'd like to work 100% on this stuff with the Squingle, but working in so closely in AI, especially right now, it's extremely interesting, just because of all the changes that are happening in that side of the tech world, and also the potential kickback that will have on VR development. So I'm really keeping an eye on that, because I think the kind of experiences that we'll be able to create in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time are going to completely blow the water out of anything that's available at the moment, in terms of what's possible. And that's not just going to come from new hardware that we're seeing coming out, but it's going to come out from the new ways in which software is created using these AI tools. So, even with Midjourney now, you can create things that like you couldn't have created easily before, just in terms of how many textures you can create for your games, how many, different design elements you can get. And I've been using it a little bit to prototype VR ideas, just like concept art for, strange, squingly ideas like, and that's going to be exciting.
So on the cutting edge in many ways, both in VR development with the implementation of, hand tracking, mixed reality, but also professionally with AI. And man, Ben's really
I don't
on
think
the
I
cutting
could
edge.
handle being in Ben's head, admittedly.
A million ideas at once, I'm sure. But I'm so hyped for this upcoming multiplayer update. But in the meantime, I think mixed reality is going to keep me plenty occupied. But if people want to stay up to date with the latest and the greatest with Squingle, where's the best place to do that? Is that social media, Discord server? And how can people find that?
Yeah. Totally. Probably the best place we announce everything on through X, formerly known as Twitter. So, follow us there. Like if you don't have Twitter, or just anyway, you can join our Discord community, which is, that's really the place to go if you want to discuss like ideas, especially I, really would love ideas around multiplayer, battle mode, race mode. What would you like to see? Would you prefer a co-op mode? Like what kind of interactions would you like? And if you want to try out and actually give feedback, actually playing the new feature, and giving feedback, I have a limited number of spaces for alpha testers so that you can join and, play the game potentially for free as well. But, I'll hopefully give some really good feedback, on the multiplayer aspect of the game and sort of get early insight and a way for you to actually, contribute to how it's going to evolve into the future. So that would be really great. Discord, Twitter, Instagram to some extent as well.
Awesome. So, I encourage all of the listeners, if you like puzzle games, Squingle is one that you don't want to miss. Again, $11, 5.0 on the MetaQuest for a good reason. Too cheap. So much content.
$14.99.
So much content. And if you like Squingle, go pop in their Discord. Go try out that multiplayer mode. I got to go try it out myself. I'm excited.
I think some of our Discord members, I can think of a few that'll probably.
Yeah, I know some already have Squingle because of the last time we had Ben on, but it's been quite a bit. Like I said, there's been a lot of.
I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's been out already.
I know. And with this multiplayer mode, man, if it's not on the official store after that, I'm going to be bald, ripping out my hair. It doesn't make sense. But
no, I think it's ready. I mean,
it's ready now.
All
but
the
after
moves
that,
have been made. I've not ever had glitches. I've never heard of
you
glitches.
Can't in a puzzle game.
And now you're using the latest and greatest in technology that the headset has to offer in a better way than some. Then why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. So I encourage all the listeners, go check out Squingle. Go rate it. Go rate it on the store. We hear it every week from developers. That's the metric that means so much. Of course, sales do, but they need those store ratings. So
yeah, it's just tough though because people don't like to.
But 5.0 after 2 years.
I know. Well, that's because people are like they play it and they're like, damn. But I get the struggle to get ratings.
It's tough. It's tough. But if you enjoy the game, definitely go rate it. Go check out their Discord. Go stay up to date with them on social media because there's even more coming for Squingle. That's insane. But Ben, I can't say thank you enough for taking the time talking with us today. Before we let Ben go, is there anything else that you wanted to ask him that we didn't go over today?
No, I mean, I remember a lot of our first conversation. I'm already planning on a third.
Yeah. And now we got to when this is ready too.
And it's weird because a lot of times I hear someone's doing the programming and they have a side job, but I almost hope that Ben can always stay involved in the future technology coming so he can integrate it into the latest and greatest. But I'd love to see Squingle Studios grow off of this or go into the official store and then maybe push it to that edge where, because I'd love to see what would come next if
a wipeout game from Ben.
Who knows?
We can afford it when you can afford the full team and
different level thinking going on. So no, I'm just pretty stoked to have been able to hear what's been going on and It's a lot more than I would have thought honestly.
Absolutely.
It doesn't seem to be slowing down. So I would encourage, if you haven't played
no
it.
slowing down at the moment. No.
That's crazy. Crazy.
Little
And
next level.
so before we wrap this up, Ben, is there anything for you that you wanted to talk about today that we didn't cover?
No, not from my side.
Sweet.
Leave it there. Just make sure that you download Squingle and give it a go.
I can't say it enough. If you haven't yet, it's one of the best puzzle games you're going to play in VR. And the fact that it's a one-man team is insane.
You will never hear someone say, I've played a game just like this before.
There's no comparison.
That's what makes it stand out on its own.
So
you play it once, you'll never forget it.
So I've said it 100 times today. If you haven't played it yet, go play Squingle. Go rate the game 5 stars on the store. Help them maintain that perfect score. And if you enjoy this episode, subscribe to us. Rate us 5 stars as well. See, it helps everyone.
And if you're an eager publisher,
I'd goodness,
jump all over this one.
This is the game.
This is the one you want on your resume.
Yeah, 100%. So thank you for taking the time for us today, Ben. Listeners, go check out Squingle and stay tuned for next week.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.